Hello, my name is Vince Villa. I'm here to kind of go over system, kind of from beginning to end, and describe the process of what was built, the requirements behind it, and kind of then go through the layers of how it was built and the libraries under that and the processes and everything. To start out with, I've been building development tools for over 20 years in Java now for about that long. A lot of that's just libraries, automation type things that help in the coding process, reusability, that type of stuff. Just things that kind of speed up, streamline the process, and just improving things as you go along. On this project here, it's for a customer who has a manufacturing company. And what we wanted to do is basically have a way for them to manage their business process from the sales side to the production side to the delivery, and then kind of also set it up so it works within their accounting system and everything. So the first thing I'll show is just the running application, kind of go through the requirements, just give you kind of an overhead of what it looks like. This is the server app. It can run with or without the UI, depending on how it's being deployed. It's set up so we can deploy it using Docker or local. So the server application, when it starts up, its job is basically to manage the database connections and everything, and then allow connections from other services or client apps, which could be desktop applications. It also internally could either be launched through a application server, a web server like a Tomcat, or it could also embed those. So in this case, we're embedding Jetty. With that set up, we have it set up to also have web services, a REST endpoint, and full access to JSP servlets and stuff like that. We also have it set up so on the communication side it uses TCP connections. It also has access through some tunneling and stuff like that. Just depending on what it needs to do, so it can manage all that. I'm going to go ahead and clear this, and then the client application. In this case, it's internal to the company. It could be outside the location, stuff like that. But there's a desktop application, there's a web application, and this application here is, from the login, we basically have it connect to the as it connects to the server. Once it connects, it pulls in data. From here, we can automatically pull in, in this case, if we go over the application, it's set up so that it can manage sales orders, productions, deliveries, and then everything else that goes along with those processes. In this case, my toolbar is pretty much filled up with all access. Depending on who the user is and how the user setup and access levels are set up, it determines what this user sees within the toolbar, and also as they go into different areas. So the sales process is basically they can go in here and click on their sales, expand it if they want, expand it to full window, and kind of look at it this way. Usually bottom line is they start putting in their line items. In this case, there's a lot of built-in UI functionality that's going on here to let them do different things for their line items, so they can see what's going on and everything. Once the order is complete, they can then basically go ahead and submit it. Open that one here. Go ahead and submit it, and that will basically finalize this for the sale. During the sales process, there's an estimate report that they can get. We'll basically, print out a quote and have some information about for signature and totals and everything else. Let's see. On the production side, once the order does get submitted, on the production side, it brings that up, and then they're able to basically produce that order. And this is a manufacturing process, so they have some different reports that they use for production, for reporting, shipping, and they can also divide this out further into, break it up into work orders, so they can track specific deliveries or time frames or deliverables broken down within that order. Deliveries themselves are then basically based on a calendar and on a carrier. And based on that carrier, they can decide what orders they're assigned, and from that they can determine the weight and the delivery time frame and everything else. This is also set up so it knows equipment and time frames on how orders are going to be produced, so it's able to help with scheduling and time management. So that's basically a compressed version of what's going on in the workflow from sales all the way to production and delivery. Everything else within here allows them to set up things like their website. Within their website, they can go in and put their items up there, keep track of the images. So like here, I can see what image is going to show up on the website. Descriptions, dimensions, pricing. For the users, it basically keeps track of who's logged in, information around that, what kind of access they have. Here's all the login information, users, and then there's a QuickBook interface in this case, and this breaks everything down into steps that the interface works within for sending orders, updating orders. And so a order will go through, a submitted order goes into QuickBooks, and then from there it's tracked as far as it's getting completed and ready for shipping and stuff like that. This is the interface that keeps them both in sync. My profile basically gives you information about your current profile information, your access level, and permissions to this is based on if you're an admin or not. That's why I can actually change my own. As another user, if I go into there, let's see, since I'm an admin, I can see all users. So if I went into a test user or somebody else, I can basically go into theirs and set up their permissions, and that all happens real time. All the information in here is kept up to date. Almost all of it's real time. So as something changes, this is an open sales order list. If a order is no longer open, it's submitted, it's removed from the list. It's a pretty straightforward, simple case. All other operations where changes are affected will automatically be updated, like all the pricing down here and stuff like that. But also as far as what a user is able to see, like the company cost is not able to be seen here. But if it's a custom item, in this case I can't change the order because it's already submitted. It would automatically allow me to fill that in. So it's smart enough to know, again, the workflow and the business rules and stuff like that. So this is the sample app. As multiple users are running it, it's also set up so that if there's multiple users in there, everything's kept in sync. So if I go into a order, look at the customer, pull it up in another system, change the name for whatever reason, you can see how it automatically stays in sync across the applications. In this case, it could be two of the different desktops, but if it was another application that maybe its job is to, we separate everything out in the services in the back end and it's updating QuickBooks, it would automatically be able to do whatever it needed to do for that. In that case, it would update it over in QuickBooks and then in the next iteration that it runs through. In the next video, what we're going to do is kind of show behind the scenes how this was built, kind of the process that was going through, and how we did it with OA.